It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha! Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Brouhaha. Dale McKee along with me, Marshall Wood, ready to get it on. How you doing, Dale? You ready to Brouhaha a little bit?
Yeah, it's a nice Tuesday, isn't it?
It is. It is. Tuesday's a good day for me. I like Tuesdays. You get through that first one,
yeah,
you know, and then
you're looking forward to that last one. Everybody looking forward to Friday.
That's right. That's right. Well, Dale, let's tell us a little bit about your sideline view this week.
Well, we basically talked about the Georgia Bulldogs had met every challenge this year, from an 8-1 Ole Miss to a 5-2 Florida to a 7-1 Missouri when they played them to a undefeated Kentucky when they played them, and then they got Tennessee this week at Knoxville. Yeah. So. They got a couple good players back last week, especially the tight end, but I don't know if they really needed them. The quarterback played an excellent game. Of course, he had plenty of time to throw the ball, and Ole Miss was just they were overmatched. Okay, Now Ole Miss is not a bad football team. Mm-mm. They're just not in that elite class with a Georgia. Yeah. Or an Alabama just yet. Right. But they're coming, but it's going to take a slow process.
Okay. I tell you what, they look mighty good to me. And I just, I believe at that SEC championship, of course, it's not set. It's going to be a clash of titans again with Bama and Georgia. I mean, that's what I see.
Yes.
That's going to be a good one.
Yes.
And what if? What if?
I think the winner will make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Of course, if Georgia wins, they're definitely in because they're the defending two-time champion. I don't know how you keep them out, especially when they're undefeated. Yeah.
We'll get to the playoffs a little bit, but go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Dale. I just get so excited about your sideline view. And all
I bet you do. I bet you do.
Come on with it.
I bet you do.
What else we got?
Well, we talked about a little bit about Mississippi State going out there and getting beat at A&M. Of course, what the odd thing was after the game. Well, Sunday morning, the A&M coach was fired for winning 51-10.
They fired the winner and the loser, didn't they?
And I'm sure they called the AD at State and said, "Now, let's get this straight. Now, they fired the winning coach. What are we going to do with the losing coach?" Well, evidently, they somebody must have talked them into it because, unfortunately, Zach Arnett, didn't even make it through 1 year, which is very, very strange.
I watched. I'm under the impression now that, Mike Leach, air raid, you recruit for that.
Yes.
Okay. He comes in and everybody thought that he might, of course he did lose Will Rogers, but he was already stumbling before then, was he not?
He was.
So, I mean, if you come into a coaching situation, I'm no rocket scientist. I'm no rock scientist. I'd be a geologist, wouldn't it? But if you're in a situation and you've got everybody in place and you've recruited these kids, to do this, and then you change, that's trouble most of the time. I've never seen it really.
Well, you change a lot. You have to change your personnel offensively, not so much defensively. But, I think they hired him, I thought, under the pretense that, okay, he's been here, he understands it, he's going to get it. But I'm hearing that it was real difficult for him to replace his offensive coordinator.
Okay.
And what I'm saying is that the man they hired, now I'm just hearing this from other talk shows and everything, was like the fifth choice. That 4 people turned him down for that position. So that left him in a bind. And I guess he hired a guy that was similar to him. He wanted to keep the old time of possession, play keep away a little bit, and that just didn't work. Will Rogers last year threw 35 touchdown passes during the season, threw for like 307, 800 yards, and this year he's barely got over 1,000. He's got 10 touchdowns. So I know he's missed a few games, but even then he wasn't, performing like he did last year.
Yeah. Well, Dale, our time's clicking off pretty fast, and let's go ahead and tell us about our guest tonight. We'll catch up on some of this in the final segment.
Well, I'd really like to surprise people with our guest tonight.
Okay.
I have somebody that went to the Georgia Ole Miss game, going to report on the Bulldogs and the Rebels up close for us.
Oh, okay. Well, that'll be fun.
So we'll get on with him in just a few minutes.
All righty. Well, let's take a break and hear from our sponsor, and Dale and I'll be back with tonight's mystery guest to talk about the Georgia and Ole Miss football game, and we'll see you right after this break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome, everyone, back to the Brouhaha. We appreciate our sponsors, and you know what? We live in an imperfect world, Dale.
We do?
Yeah, we do.
I hate that.
I know I do too. I love perfection, though I've never achieved it. It's good to chase every once in a while, but we have had some problems.
We have?
Technical difficulties. Do you remember as a child watching TV and you'd get that circle that would come on, it'd be in black and white, and it'd start going, and you are experiencing technical difficulties. So we've experienced some technical difficulties. And our mystery guest is going to be you.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. But I believe that you are up to the challenge.
So I'm kind of like coming off the bench.
That's exactly what
I'm a bench player?
You're a bench player.
Oh, my goodness.
And you got one shot.
Well, we did have
to be a hero.
We did have a great guest, and we've had some technical issues, but we're going to try to reschedule him for maybe even next week, because he's a knowledgeable fellow. But we'll get into that next week.
Well, he can't be any more knowledgeable than you.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
There's plenty of them running around.
I don't know.
There's yeah.
So he was going to talk about Georgia. And Ole Miss.
Yeah. Well, he had attended the ball game.
He had attended the ball game?
And I kind of attended from my living room.
Well, there you go.
He was actually there.
Yeah.
In attendance.
What'd you think?
I thought Georgia was mighty, mighty good.
Yeah.
Mighty good. Yeah.
That's a mighty good football team.
I'm not a doubter.
Is.
I'm not a doubter like some.
At the first year, everybody's talking about what a lousy schedule they had. I guess they were saying that.
Yeah.
But it hadn't turned out that way, has it? I mean, everybody figured they was going to be playing a top 10 Ole Miss team.
Well, they were.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But if they were playing them again next week, they wouldn't be a top 10.
Did you know that was the first time, they said, since 1968 that Ole Miss and Georgia met on a playing field, both ranked in the top 10?
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, Ole Miss went into Athens that year. Ole Miss had a sophomore quarterback named Archie Manning, and they went in there.
Archie who?
Archie Manning.
Archie who?
Manning.
Oh, okay.
And they were 3-0, and they had just come off a big win over Alabama.
Alabama.
And I don't think Ole Miss had beat Alabama in like 50 or 60 years, and I was actually at that game. That Ole Miss won. They won 10-8 in Jackson in 1968, and it was a defensive struggle the whole ball game. And Ole Miss was up 10-0. And Alabama blocked a punt, went for two, made it 10-8, and everybody got nervous. Because old Bear was on the other sidelines. Old Bear was going to turn another walk-on water miracle, But Ole Miss survived that day. Next week they went to Athens, and They had a rough go over there, but it wasn't as bad as it was the last week. I think they got beat a couple touchdowns over there then.
Okay.
So I thought that was unique in the history of the series.
Yeah. Well, how's this going to affect everything? Let's kind of turn our attention to the polls. Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, tonight's CFP night. We're going to find out what they think, and all our people are, finding that out. Probably, I'm sure all the people that would be watching that are listening to us.
Sure.
So we might better tell them,
yeah.
What's really happening,
yeah.
According to us.
Yeah.
So I printed out this poll right here, and this is Associated Press.
Yeah.
when I was coming up, there was Associated Press and the UPI, United Press International. Those were basically the two polls. Now we got polls everywhere.
Yeah.
But this is the AP. So I kind of went back to print one out that I've been looking at since I was a child. And currently, they got Georgia at number 1. Okay? And Georgia's got Tennessee and Georgia Tech left. So I'd say there's a pretty good chance that Georgia, of course, now this is an AP poll, but I got a feeling that Georgia's going to be, let's go ahead and make our projections. Okay? I think Georgia's going to be in the top 4 for person, of course, but number 1. Okay? What do you think about that? You think Georgia's number 1 in your poll? You think Georgia's number 1?
I think they've met all the challenges. I think Ohio State had, a big win over Penn State at the time in the top 10. They had a big win over Notre Dame, but neither one of them was in the top 10 anymore.
Yeah.
So, of course, if you look at Georgia, everybody they beat, of course, I think Missouri's the highest rated team they've beaten at 11.
Yeah, Missouri's pretty good.
Well, 11, yeah. Yeah, Missouri's surprising folks. They're like, what is it?
11th in this poll.
Yeah, they're what, 9-1 or?
Yeah, 8-2.
8-2.
Yeah, 8-2.
Yeah. And so, that's surprising.
Yeah.
It's always, people don't understand, Missouri's probably been to the SEC championship game at least 2, maybe 3 times over the history of it.
That's impressive. You lose sight of those guys.
Yeah. You just lose sight of them, So
all of a sudden, there they are looking you in the face with their teeth sticking out.
Yeah.
Excuse me a minute. So we got Georgia in our, we say, we'll go ahead and say, we think Georgia's in our top 4.
Okay. Yes, definitely.
Okay.
I mean, they're going to be 1 or 2.
Yeah. All right. Then we look at Michigan. And Michigan, they're 10-0. They got Maryland and Ohio State left. And,
they're coachless.
Well, that's a great point. He's on. We had a discussion about this not too long ago, did we not?
Well, we've asked, the last 2 guests that we had, Michael Kotz from Ole Miss, that was Ole Miss beat writer from the West Coast, and we asked last week Stefan from the Clarion Ledger. And he's got an Indiana Big Ten, ties because he went to Indiana, and so they were even, Michigan may be the best team up there.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna find out when they play Ohio State.
Yeah, we will, won't we?
Yeah, we sure will.
That'll be their challenge,
Yes, sir.
But now, has Michigan really beat anybody as top 10 team? I mean, Penn State was supposed to give them a good game this week, but I never understood the Penn State coach.
James Franklin.
Yeah. He goes, it's 14-9. He scores right before the end of the half. He goes for 2. Who goes for 2 in the first half? When you're only trailing 5, I mean, if you get it 14-10, you're still within a, 1 score of tying the game there, basically. And I just didn't understand that in the end. Michigan made a couple of good 4th down plays, and they seem very, very determined. It's like they've got this really us against the world mentality, and you could almost tell that with the players.
Yeah.
And of course the coach came on after the game that replaced him, and the temporary coach, and he was crying, and we did this for you, coach. We did this for you,
I believe Harbaugh's maintaining his innocence.
Well, I think he said in one of his press conferences, I think you're innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
And so he's one of his former coaches that's coaching a team came out and said, listen, I was the closest guy to him the last, closer to him than anyone except his family.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I didn't know anything about this guy going over and aboard to try to impress. Yeah. And evidently he was feeding information to somebody else because we never knew it.
Yeah.
And things like that. So
you buy that?
I don't know how it can be instituting a game plan without you knowing.
Yeah.
But I go back to this, okay? They probably did wrong by sending somebody into that situation, okay?
Yeah.
If they did. But I can also tell you can always trace the money.
Money don't lie.
Yeah.
Show me the money.
You can trace it.
That's right.
It comes from somewhere.
Yeah, it does.
You know.
I'm always just looking for. I ain't never found any. I'm always looking for it. But anyway, we got Georgia and Michigan. We think Michigan. Or you would say that Michigan's going to be in the Final Four right now? Because you can say they're going to beat Ohio State.
Well, I mean, if they beat Ohio State, I don't see how you can keep them out. Now, if they lose to Ohio State, people may say, okay, let's get rid of them.
Okay.
Because we don't want Jim in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, these are humans making this final 4-4 pick.
We're just talking about me and you. We ain't talking about
No,
anybody.
I understand, but when you get to who's going to be in the playoffs.
That's what we're trying to do, me and you.
Oh, just me and you?
Yeah, we're trying to pick our playoff team right now.
Okay.
We're making our poll.
Well, as of today, I
Yeah.
would say definitely Michigan's in there.
Okay, all right. So is that going to rule Ohio State out? Because Michigan's going to have to beat them to get in?
It's a possibility. I'm not sure how the others are going to.
We're just taking one at a time.
Well, I'm just saying I'm not sure how Florida State and Washington are going to do, and if there's going to be an upset put in, or they're going to put a one-loss Oregon in there. I mean.
You're going to have a one-loss Michigan or Ohio State. That's going to be a one-loss there.
Yes.
So we're just going to say there's one team out of there. We got Georgia's in. All right. So Michigan or Ohio State's going to be gone.
So you're saying Georgia's going to beat Alabama?
Well, I don't know yet. Well, let's see. That's going to be one we're going to discuss again. Because
we're going to have one SEC team and one Big 12.
Yeah.
I mean, one Big 10 team, right?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Georgia. But it's not going to surprise me one bit if Alabama beats them, gets in that game and beats them.
Even after what you saw Saturday night?
Even after what I saw Saturday.
See, I'm quizzing you very intently here, very intently here.
Alabama, everybody expects so much out of Alabama. If they're not perfect, everybody thinks they're terrible. But they never are terrible.
Yeah.
So.
They're going to show up.
They're going to show up, and they're getting better. And did you see Melrose stats this week?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. To me, that's going to be the thing in that ball game. If Alabama can control the time of possession, they're going to win the ball game.
I believe that.
And if they can't, then they're not. So
Yeah.
it's going to all be on the offense.
And you come back and you look at Alabama's. Of course, everybody knows about Georgia's front's not as good as it was last year on defense. I don't believe.
Yeah.
And Alabama's offensive line. You don't see that every day.
Yeah, well, they've improved a whole bunch.
They sure have, and they're giants.
Yeah.
So they're going to root off.
The thing that I noticed about Georgia is they are just super quick on defense.
Yes.
Super quick.
Yes, they are.
I mean, they recover very fast.
Okay, so we're looking at Georgia. We're going to take the winner of Michigan and Ohio State. We got Florida State down here that's got North Alabama and Florida left.
I think they'll win.
So we think that I think Florida State's going to be undefeated, and I think they'll be in it.
Yes.
Okay, so we got the winner of Michigan, Ohio State. We got Florida State. Here's Washington. Mm-hmm. They got Oregon State and Washington State left. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to be undefeated.
Yes.
So there's another one that's going to be in.
I think that's going to be the 4.
You think that's going to be Georgia, the winner of Michigan, Ohio State,
the winner of Georgia,
Florida,
Alabama.
the winner of Georgia, Alabama, the winner of Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, and Washington. You think that's it?
Yeah, I think Florida State and Washington is probably almost a shoe-in.
Yeah. Well, there you go, folks. See how easy that is? Mm-hmm. I mean, what do these people have? All these TV shows?
Well, they have like 7-8 meetings. They, fly them in every week to Dallas and feed them for 3 days. They just call me and you say, who are the folks?
Well, I mean, it's easy.
Well, fly me out to Dallas and I'll tell you.
Put me up for a few days, feed me good.
Feed me good.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one team a day. I'd stay 4 days.
Let's just look a little bit at some more of these top-ranked teams. Oregon has really done well this year, and Bo Nix is getting himself in the Heisman chat now. Mm-hmm. I like that kid.
I do too, and I would like for him to get it, but I think like the last 2 guests that we've had, I think the Washington quarterback is getting a lot of notoriety around the country, and I think it's going to be hard to beat him. But I still say that quarterback at LSU deserves a few votes. He's
gonna get a few. He's pretty good.
He took a hit at Alabama that I don't think me and you could take.
I couldn't even look at it. Oh my goodness! All righty, Texas.
Yeah.
How about them Horns? Listen here, they got Iowa State and Texas Tech left. Of course, they're not going to be in they'll be in the New Year's Six Bowl probably, but they're not going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But what's going on with Manning out there? Is he going to stay or go?
Oh, I think just knowing the Mannings, I think the kid will stay.
Yeah. We got down here.
Mannings are not the type that up and leave.
Yeah.
I mean, really, you think about Eli's status and really Peyton when he was with the Colts, he really didn't want to go.
I'm sitting here with my hand up when you said that the Mannings weren't the kind of people to leave. But what about Eli's stunt in the draft?
Well, that was different.
Was it?
I thought it was.
Let's determine on where he was going to play.
Well, supposedly the story from years ago is that
let's tell people what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Some of them may not know.
Yeah, well, Eli.
He was going to be the number one pick, right?
Yeah, and he basically told the Chargers that he'd come back to Ole Miss for senior year if they drafted him. Well, they drafted him anyway.
Yeah.
But supposedly, in the deal, Archie had had a lot of NFL contacts, and he was calling around, and most of the others were telling him, "You don't want to go to San Diego." The GM's not he's not a up and honest guy. I mean, that's what they're telling.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're not saying that.
Yeah, and so it was just bad. Like you don't know if that's a dysfunctional. They're never going to win, and all that kind of stuff. And so, but I remember, in Waynesboro, Mississippi, I heard this statement in January before the NFL draft in April. Okay. There was a guy running the Ole Miss Spirit, and he came down and talked to a bunch of folks at Western Sizzler. And he said in that conversation, and I thought it was a little surprising and everything, he said, Archie would love for Eli to play for the New York Giants because that's where Charlie Connerly played. And Archie's real close to Miss Connerly, and they still talk.
What about Gibbs?
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, he played for the Yankees.
Oh, okay. I thought that's right.
And so, anyway, but that was one of Archie's heroes growing up, he said one time, was Jay Gibbs. So, and Jay Gibbs ended up being his quarterback coach at Ole Miss for a time. But anyway, I remember that. And then all of a sudden, I didn't really think it was going to be a possibility. And then all of a sudden, all this transformed where he could.
Yeah.
So I think the owner of the Giants wanted to get involved in it, O'Mara, and he wanted a Manning with a little.
But the Mannings didn't. They made happen what they wanted to make happen. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, because I don't know nothing. But the same way with Arch, if he's sitting out there not going to play, you think they're going to sit there 3 or 4 years and never play?
Well, now I don't know about that, but I don't think he's just going up and go after 1 year.
Yeah.
I think he's going to compete.
Yeah.
And you're always one play away from playing.
Amen. All right, we just kind of we looked at Oregon, Texas, Alabama. We've talked about them. Louisville's in the top 10. They're going to be insignificant for the playoffs, and Oregon State rounds out the top 10. That's enough of that for right now. Let's see what else we can talk about. I got some other things here I want to run at you.
Okay.
Jimbo Fisher's buyout. Interesting, don't you think?
I think it's really
77.6, like Uncle Jed would say, $1 million. Some new kind of dollar than $1 million. Uncle Jed had 42 of them. Well, Jimbo's got 77.6 of them. There's a lump sum payment of 25% within 60 days. It's due $19,390,625. That's got to be paid to him within 60 days. Following that, he's got 8 payments starting no later than March 11th, 2024, annually through 2031 of $7,271,840 a year. That's not bad. That's not bad. Everybody talks about how big that buyout is, and it's huge, but listen to this. What do you think Kirby Smart's buyout is?
I don't know.
$92,625,000. Brian Kelly's buyout, LSU, 18,333. James Franklin, Penn State, $64 million. Dabo, James Franklin's 64 plus. Dabo's an even $64 million. Matt Rule, that's a household name for you.
Yeah.
$62 million. So this big buyout stuff, there's a lot more out there than we really think about. That's crazy.
It's really sickening, to be honest with you.
I mean, if you got a guy right here, Jimbo, I mean,
I bet
money for nothing, man. Money for nothing. All of these guys could quit and fish and not worry about a thing. Go get themselves fired. What do they got to perform for? There's no incentive.
Yeah, I just wondered. I wonder what Nick Saban. I bet Nick Saban doesn't even have a buyout.
Well, it wasn't. No, it wasn't among the biggest. But anyway, I'm sure it probably wouldn't be food. But I found that very, very interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that except for Jimbo's.
Yeah.
But
of course, now I could have got this off of Homer and Jethro Sports.
well, I was listening to a show yesterday, and they were talking about who were some of the replacements for him. And one of the names brought up was the Oregon coach.
Dan Lanning, I've got him on the list right here.
Yeah, and Dan, you know what his buyout at Oregon is?
What's that?
$20 million.
$20 million. What a loser.
No, but what I'm saying is, if you really think about it, A&M will say, "Well, we'll pay Oregon $20 million."
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's what he'll have to do if he leaves. You know.
Yeah.
He'll have to pay them $20 million.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe these got it written in there. If they leave to go somewhere else, they have to pay.
Yeah.
So I think the guy at Zach Arnett's only going to get $4.5 million. You know,
Ain't a bad day's work.
and they said if he gets another job that they'll take off that amount. So say if he gets a coordinator's job, which he's a great defensive coach, and he's done a good job. People don't realize he kept that top 25 class of theirs together after Leach died last year.
Yeah.
So he didn't do a bad job at Mississippi State as far as the recruiting and of keeping those players. And I think they were having a pretty good recruiting year up to now.
Yeah.
Now somebody made a comment on one of the Ole Miss things I was reading the other day. Said, "Boy, we can go raid Texas A&M for players." And I thought, I don't know. Have you really thought about the consequences of going over and asking a boy, well, how much you gonna give me? A&M's giving me $75,000. How much you gonna give me a year? Yeah. I mean, those A&M boys, if Kiffin was right and they were getting paid a lot of money, then it's gonna be hard to recruit those kids.
Yes, it is. Let's look at some of the top prospects to replace. And you've already mentioned one, Dan Lanning, of course. He says, I ain't going. They always say that.
Yeah.
I like him. Mm-hmm. He's an interesting guy. Lane Kiffin. I saw Lane's comment. He said, I ain't fooling with that no more. But why would he go to Texas A&M?
I don't think he's going to be in the mix.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Okay.
Right. So we just scratch him off.
All righty.
He likes his name mentioned.
Yeah.
Like he did last year. Yeah. But I don't know how serious Auburn really was.
Yeah. Mike Elko, he's at Duke, 15-8.
I think he's got a legitimate shot.
Yeah.
Because I think he coached there at one time.
DC at A&M, 2018 to 2021. Yeah. He's probably got the inside track.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's on the list. I like that guy for the job.
But, now listen, when they hired Jimbo, he was the hottest name out there. National championship at Florida State. Of course, their program was kind of sliding a little backwards, but, he had a national championship. What's Elko done to deserve A&M?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I'm just saying.
I get it.
I mean, who in this?
He's done real well at Duke.
They're not going to be able to hire a guy like a Fisher that's won a national championship somewhere. They're going to have to go under the radar.
Yeah. Well, Elko kind of fits that.
He does.
Fits that.
Yes.
We've got DeBoer out in Washington. He's on the list.
Okay.
But I don't see him going.
Yeah.
And here's one, Jeff Taylor, Roadrunners.
Yeah.
He's on the list. Would they hire him?
A lot of times it's about who's left.
Yeah.
I mean, what if Elko and Lanning and a couple of them say, no, we just got a better deal because we're going to get our contract extended, a little bit more money. We're going to stay here. But I can see Elko leaving Duke because Duke is not a destination for football players.
Right.
They're a destination for lawyers and doctors and rich people.
I got one last prospect for you.
Okay.
This is the one that Stephen Smith says.
Okay. I know who Stephen wants, probably.
Who's that? Prime time, baby.
Colorado.
Yeah.
I think Prime is going to stay at Colorado at least another year. First of all, his son cannot transfer again without sitting out.
Yeah.
And either Ken is a good wide receiver, and he's got a good recruiting class coming. And I think he's going to at least stay one more year. Now, after that, I can't say. So I think he would, but I'm not so sure he's a good fit for A&M. If something came about at Arkansas maybe next year, not this year, but next year, because I think they're going to go with Pittman another year. If Arkansas would come open next year, I think Dion would fit better there than he would anywhere. Because Dion's the kind of guy, he can go to Colorado, he can go to Jackson State, he can go to Arkansas, and he could probably make it happen. He could have gone to Auburn and made it happen.
Yeah.
Of course, Freeze is doing an excellent job there.
Get ready when he gets him a quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say this, and we're about out of time, but I'll go back to these buyouts. To me, you know, you're putting there's no need to perform here. I mean, you're giving guys so much money they don't even have to work anymore. I mean, so anyway, that's enough of that. But we're out of time. We didn't get our third segment in. We just lumped these last two together.
Can we do that?
Well, we did it.
Well, don't tell Jamie.
But anyway, listen up, folks. We appreciate y'all joining us each week on the Brouhaha, and we just want you to know you can follow us on Facebook at the Brouhaha, and you can also follow us on our YouTube channel, where all the programs are cataloged, and you can listen in there at your own demand, as they say. But for now, the sun is setting on our broadcast, and it's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Before I say goodbye,
okay.
Dale, we had a wonderful mystery guest today. Goodbye, Dale.
And we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.